This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, December 4th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
An immigration crackdown begins in Minneapolis and in New Orleans.
We don't want them in our country.
I'm Clayton Neville.
The Pentagon's watchdog reports Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth put American troops at risk. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
On Wall Street, investors are hoping to build on yesterday's gains. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A lawyer alleges that UPS put profits over safety before a plane crash that killed 14 people. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Correspondent Ben Thomas has reaction to the special House election in Tennessee, and a special prosecutor who once handed out subpoenas has received one from a congressional committee.
Serena Williams has thrown cold water on the idea that she might be preparing to return to tennis. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
All ahead on America in the Morning. The Trump administration's crackdown on immigration is underway this week in New Orleans and Minneapolis. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports on local reaction to ICE enforcement.
The Department of Homeland Security says the immigration crackdown that started this week in Minneapolis and in New Orleans is targeting criminal aliens roaming free, thanks to sanctuary policies that it says force local authorities to ignore ICE requests to detain illegal immigrants. In New Orleans, there's concern. This Vietnamese woman told WWL-TV she's worried about racial profiling.
The overall concern is that, you see in the news, it's just like the way that it's being done is just so abrupt and scary,
Those targeted in New Orleans include people released after arrest for home invasion, armed robbery, grand theft auto, and rape. That according to the Trump administration. Meanwhile, in Minneapolis, Somalian migrants on edge after President Trump made these comments this week about them.
When they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country.
He said the U.S. is allowing garbage into the country and referenced Somalia native and now Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry with the city's response.
We stand with our immigrants. We stand with the Somali community. We stand with Latino people. We stand with anyone that is looking to make Minneapolis their home and are proud to be here.
Federal officials say that ICE officers are not specifically targeting Somali immigrants in Minneapolis, but may be arresting some who they believe have violated immigration laws. I'm Clayton Neville.
As he is already under scrutiny for the U.S. military boat strikes against suspected narco-terrorists in the Caribbean, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is now defending himself after a Pentagon watchdog report says the defense chief's use of signal chat to convey sensitive material about strikes in Yemen put American troops in harm's way. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
AP sources say the Pentagon's watchdog reports Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth put American troops at risk by using the Signal messaging app to post sensitive information about a military strike in Yemen.
How did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
On at least 2 Signal chats in March, Hegseth gave exact timings of warplane launches and bomb drops against Houthi rebels before pilots were airborne. He defended it as much ado about nothing.
No classified information.
But at a House Intelligence Committee hearing, Ranking Member Jim Himes said the information could easily have gotten back to the rebels.
I think that it's by the awesome grace of God that we are not mourning dead pilots right now.
Hegseth's also under scrutiny on Capitol Hill for a follow-on strike against survivors of an attack on an alleged drug-carrying boat in the Caribbean.
I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do, and by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat.
Some lawmakers say that could have been a war crime.
With regard to the latest question that you all have been raising, that the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is going to look into and get the facts on some of the events that have happened down in the Caribbean, that we will get those answers in due time. But I have every confidence that the policies that this administration is employing when it comes to keeping people in this country safe and ensuring that our policy is one of peace through strength, that those policies are being adhered to and followed.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Both sides claiming victory in Tennessee's vote for a U.S. House seat. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Snow and cold. 'Tis the season. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with the National Outlook.
There is quite a bit of territory in the northeastern part of the country where snow squalls may develop thanks to an Arctic cold front sweeping the area. This is the same front that has brought some frigid temperatures well below zero for many in the Midwest overnight, and the passage of that front will bring in the coldest air so far this season for cities such as Boston and New York as well for Friday morning. Until then, the front will help to produce the risk for a period of steady snow from the Ohio-Kentucky border through much of West Virginia and into southwestern Pennsylvania early today, with more sporadic snow showers likely to the north and east of there through much of the rest of Pennsylvania, the northern half of New Jersey, and essentially all other areas to the north of there except around Cape Cod, where it will be less cold, so some rain is more likely to mix in. The greatest risk for snow squalls will be near Lakes Erie and Ontario, as well as places closer to the center of the storm from northern and central New York eastward through much of Maine and New Hampshire. Rain spreads across more of the south today as a developing storm brings some significant rain to portions of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, but expect some wet weather as far to the east as southern Georgia by day's end, maybe even an icy mix in Oklahoma early, and freezing drizzle for northwestern Arkansas. A Santa Ana wind event winds down this morning over the usual zones of Southern California, but farther to the north, much of the Northwest has an active weather day in store as a storm brings rain and drizzle near and along much of the Washington and Oregon coast, a wintry mix in eastern parts of both states, and some snow toward the Rockies in Idaho and Montana. In Seattle, today brings rain and drizzle, high 49. For Des Moines, it's looking sunny but frigid, with the high only able to reach 15 today. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Even though Republicans held on to a U.S. House seat being contested in Tennessee, both sides are claiming victory. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
The people of Middle Tennessee stand with President Donald J. Trump.
Republican Matt Van Epps addressing supporters after winning a special election in Tennessee, keeping the 7th congressional district in the GOP column.
Our victory was powered by supporters of President Trump turning out to vote. The president built the largest, most diverse coalition to ever elect a Republican, and we leaned in on that. President Trump was all in with us, and it made the difference. In Congress, I'll be all in with him.
A military veteran and former State General Services Commissioner from Nashville, Van Epps defeated Democratic State Representative Afton Bain with help from President Trump.
There are two things above all else that bothered me. Number one, she hates Christianity. Number two, she hates country music. How the hell can you elect a person like that? So I just want to give my total support, and he's had it right from the beginning, to Matt Van Epps. He's going to be a fantastic congressman. He's going to represent you so well.
In last year's presidential election, Trump carried the district by 22 percentage points. Yet Bain made it relatively close. With about 95% of votes counted, Van Epps' lead was in the high single digits. Still, Van Epps says the lesson from this race is clear.
I say this to my friends in the liberal media and to the professional panickers in my own party. Tonight we showed running from Trump is how you lose. Running with Trump is how you win.
I'm Ben Thomas.
The U.S. House Judiciary Committee issued a subpoena to former special counsel Jack Smith, who led investigations into President Donald Trump, ordering him to appear at a closed-door session scheduled for December 17th. Committee Chairman Jim Jordan denied request by Smith's attorneys to have his hearing in open session. Jordan also requested documents be presented, but did not specify the topics of those documents. The GOP-led Judiciary Committee is investigating what it claims were the politically motivated prosecutions of Donald Trump. When we return on America in the Morning, new but weaker job data. The numbers after these messages. The Business Report is sponsored by Gusto. Gusto's a simple online payroll and benefits tool built for small businesses. Learn more at gusto.com/radio. With the Thursday Business Report, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning day yesterday for the major averages. Investors saw weak job market data as a reason for a Fed interest rate cut next week. The Dow popped 400 points.
This is an elf rally right now, on the way to a Santa Claus type of rally. They're in the workshop right now, and then ultimately delivery happens later.
Maryland Bank of America Private Bank's Chris Heisey on CNBC. Markets shook off new weak job data from ADP and saw it as a reason for the Fed to cut interest rates next week. Private employers shed jobs again last month as the labor market slowdown continues. Payrolls were down 32,000, led by steep small business job cuts.
This is a mom and pop story, because if you look at where the losses came in, it was for firms with headcount under 50. They are going to have a hiring freeze. They may not hire a teenager or two in the bakery over the holiday season. They're going to make these small changes that add up to a lot, because 44% of U.S. workers work in these mom and pop firms.
ADP chief economist Neela Richardson on CNBC. Salesforce reported strong quarterly results last night after the closing bell. Shares popped up 9% in after-hours trading. Silver with a fresh all-time high yesterday. Natural gas hit a 3-year high. That can hit consumers in their wallets. People who heat their homes or run their stoves or clothes dryers with it. And it's all because of cold weather and because of AI.
You know, we are entering the highest demand time of the year for natural gas. And so we have seen gas prices, get to $5 per MMBTU. We do see the winter, colder than maybe normal. Yeah, demand is strong. And now we see AI and the race for build out of data centers and data center capacity. It's going to have to largely lean on natural gas.
Williams CEO Chad Zamarin on CNBC. Car dealers are really down on their business with new car prices at record highs.
Dealer sentiment for the third quarter, it's not good. In fact, they are seeing slowing traffic. It is the lowest dealer sentiment on consumers buying new vehicles since 2020.
That's CNBC's Phil LeBeau. He has data from Cox Automotive. You think dealers want to tell you that if you want that new car, you're going to have to take a 7-year auto loan to make the payment work in your budget? A 7-year loan is 84 months. You can also get an 8-year loan now, too.
Well, we have definitely seen growth in the 84-month loans. And we continue to see some growth in loans that are above 84 months, 85 plus, even loans above 96 months.
That's Experian's Melinda Zabritsky on CNBC. On today's watch list, some earnings from Kroger and Ulta Beauty.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, rumors of a tennis star comeback highly exaggerated after these messages. Lawsuits are being filed against UPS following the deadly cargo plane crash in Louisville in November. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
A lawyer alleges that UPS put profits over safety before a plane crash that killed 14 people. The lawyer who filed 2 wrongful death lawsuits alleges that UPS kept flying an older aircraft without increasing maintenance beyond what's regularly scheduled. Attorney Bradley Cosgrove told reporters that they believe inspections should have found the cracks cited by federal investigators.
We think that those would have been long-standing defects that should have been found and fixed long before this aged aircraft was continued to be pressed to its max by UPS.
Last month's fiery crash happened during takeoff after the plane's left engine detached, and cracks were later found where the engine connected to the wing. The lawsuits are on behalf of the families of 45-year-old Angela Anderson, who was shopping at a business by the airport, and 37-year-old Trinidad Trina Chavez, who was working at Grade A Auto Parts. Audio courtesy of WHAS 11 News. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Despite rumors lighting up the internet, one of the biggest stars in women's tennis history is not planning a comeback. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh explains.
Serena Williams has thrown cold water on the idea that she might be preparing to return to tennis. Williams wrote on social media Tuesday that she is, quote, not coming back, end quote, after a spokesman for the International Tennis Integrity Agency said the 23-time Grand Slam champion had registered with the sports drug testing body. That is the first step that would be required by a player seeking to come out of retirement. The 44-year-old Williams has not competed since the 2022 U.S. Open. She never officially retired. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
America in the Morning for Thursday, December 4th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Lawmakers face growing pressure to figure out health care. I'm Rich Johnson.
President Trump plans to roll back fuel efficiency rules aiming to lower car prices. I'm Sue Aller.
The Trump administration is pausing immigration applications, including green cards, for people from 19 countries. Mike Hemp in Washington.
President Trump has pardoned a Democrat congressman and his wife. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The first sentence in the death of Matthew Perry was handed down on Wednesday in Los Angeles. I'm Kevin Carr.
Apparently, skunks aren't the only varmints with a thirst for alcohol. I'm Clayton Neville.
Back after these messages. Back now on America in the Morning. Rain for the South, snow for others. Here's the national outlook with AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Wednesday evening brought some rain from the Houston area into Louisiana, with that being just the first of a number of rounds of rain to come through the next couple of days. The rain looks to be particularly heavy in the area today because the most Gulf moisture will be in place to be wrung out by a storm getting organized over the western Gulf. This feature will help to once again focus some heavy rain on some of the same areas affected on Wednesday, with southern Louisiana more likely to be where rain and embedded thunderstorms bring a soaking today. However, the Houston area does have another rather wet day in store with more intermittent rain and thunder, and that risk for flooding downpours eventually extends into much of southern Mississippi, approaching the Florida Panhandle later tonight. Even outside of this area, some rain is expected from central Texas to southwestern Georgia today, even some snow in southern Oklahoma. The Pacific Northwest also faces some active weather today, thanks to another storm dropping southward out of Canada, and much of the region stands some risk for precipitation. As is generally the norm, coastal areas from northwestern Oregon through much of western Washington have the highest chance for some steadier rain and drizzle, with flurries or an icy mix more likely over some of the terrain of eastern Oregon and into northeastern Washington. By the afternoon, some steady snow can be expected to spill into the high ground from central Idaho into western Montana. Elsewhere, an Arctic cold front continues to bring the coldest air of the season for many in its wake as it clears the northeast and mid-Atlantic coast, with the risk for snow showers from Ohio through New England and some heavier snow squalls downwind of Lake Erie, and from the Syracuse area through northern New York State and all but coastal parts of New Hampshire and Maine. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. With serious concerns that health insurance premiums could spike for both the Affordable Care Act and other insurance unless Congress acts this month, senators and representatives from both parties appear to be looking for common ground to solve a problem that affects millions of Americans and potentially those lawmakers' careers, the high cost of health care. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports that some Republicans are mulling over their own potential solutions, while Democrats continue to demand subsidy extensions for Obamacare.
The goal is something both parties want.
I think the average American doesn't care what flavor the legislation is, as long as it takes care of the challenges they have.
Which, according to Congressman Brad Schneider, a Democrat from Illinois, is keeping health insurance affordable when the federal subsidies to pay for the Affordable Care Act premiums expire.
We are looking at a massive crisis unless Congress acts, and acts soon.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri is among those with that stark warning. As lawmakers from both sides talk, some are raising the idea of direct payments to health savings accounts. Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson is all for it.
We've basically driven free market competition out of healthcare. The way you return it, consumerism. So you do that with things like health savings account. Allow people to buy their own insurance. Let them buy any kind of insurance they want.
Johnson's comment courtesy of Fox Business. As for Democrats, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen on his X feed.
I agree with those, including the president, who says we should get rid of the middlemen. Let's get rid of all of those insurance carriers. Let's get rid of all the administrative costs.
But for now, there's the perceived political cost, especially for Republicans. They can extend the subsidies, thereby endorsing the health plan they fought for a decade to repeal, or they don't, and health care costs for millions of Americans will skyrocket just ahead of next year's elections. I'm Richard Johnson.
President Trump on Wednesday announced a proposal to weaken vehicle mileage rules for the auto industry, loosening regulatory pressure on automakers to control pollution and increase mileage from gasoline-powered cars and trucks. Correspondent Sue Aller reports.
Creating jobs and lowering costs. President Donald Trump announced plans to roll back fuel efficiency standards for cars.
The Department of Transportation will rescind the Biden fuel economy prices.
From the Oval Office, he said ending the current standards will make cars more affordable and help boost American manufacturing.
But these policies forced automakers to build cars using expensive technologies that drove up costs, drove up prices, and made the car much worse.
Trump's administration says the move could save buyers about $1,000 per vehicle, though experts caution that prices may not drop immediately. The proposal, which still requires formal approval, also reclassifies small SUVs and crossovers as passenger cars instead of light trucks.
Under the Trump administration, $70 billion are now being invested in the American auto industry.
Automakers welcome the plan. Executives from Ford, GM, and Stellantis said it aligns standards with real-world market conditions while keeping customers' choices open. Stocks of these companies rose following the announcement. Critics, however, note that long-term effects on emissions and climate goals remain uncertain, and any near-term relief for buyers may be limited. The plan focuses on vehicles for model year 2031. I'm Sue Aller.
The administration projects that the new standards would set the industry fleet-wide average for light-duty vehicles at roughly 34.5 miles per gallon in the 2031 model year. President Trump says the action is expected to save consumers about $1,000 off the price of a new car. New cars sold for an average of $49,766 in October, according to Kelley Blue Book. Between platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, it's estimated that 95% of American teenagers 13 to 17 and nearly half of all children 8 to 12 are using social media each day. However, in one nation, soon your kids could face a fine if they log on. Correspondent Naomi Kim reports on the countdown to Australia's under 16 social media ban.
In a world first, children under the age of 16 in Australia will no longer be allowed to have social media accounts starting next week. Australia is set to enforce its new age limit from December 10, requiring major platforms to close underage accounts and report back each month on how many they've removed. Communications Minister Annika Wells said the platforms could face fines of up to $33 million if they fail to take reasonable steps to remove these accounts.
Through one reform, more kids will have their time back to learn an instrument or a language or walk their dog.
The rule applies to platforms including Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube, with Twitch recently added to the list. Critics argue, though, that the law doesn't improve online safety. A court challenge is pending, but the government insists the law will proceed as planned. I'm Nayan Kim.
In the U.S., social media is practically uniform for teenagers. Statistics show that the average age in America for kids creating a social media account is 12 and a half, with teenagers spending on average over 4 hours each day on social media platforms. A halt on immigration applications when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Following the shooting of 2 National Guard members by an Afghan national in the nation's capital, the Trump administration announces a halt in immigration applications. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
The Trump administration is pausing immigration applications, including green cards, for people from 19 countries previously banned from travel. The decision follows the shooting of 2 National Guard troops in the nation's capital. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which announced the pause, will conduct a comprehensive review of immigration requests from those countries. The agency cites national security concerns and the recent shooting as reasons. The pause puts on hold a wide range of immigration-related decisions, such as green card applications or naturalizations for immigrants from those 19 countries. The Trump administration describes those countries as high risk. The pause affects immigrants already in the U.S., regardless of arrival date. Critics argue the actions amount to collective punishment for immigrants. Mike Hempen, Washington.
In a surprise move, President Trump has issued a full and unconditional pardon for a Democrat congressman and his wife in a federal bribery and corruption case. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports that the former Texas congressman now says he's planning to seek re-election and will not change political parties.
President Trump has pardoned a Democrat congressman and his wife in a federal bribery and conspiracy case.
On this vote, the yeas are 219, the nays are 210.
Texas's Henry Cuellar has spent more than 20 years in Congress. He and his wife were due to stand trial next year after being charged with accepting bribes in exchange for the congressman advancing the interests of an Azerbaijan-controlled energy company and a bank in Mexico. Cuellar says they're innocent. The president pardoned both, citing what he calls a weaponized justice system.
I didn't know that this was coming.
You didn't talk to the president or the White House?
I'm going to go to the White House Christmas party next week, and I'm going to thank the president personally.
And to be clear, you filed for re-election as soon as you found out.
As I said, I am a conservative Democrat. And I am very bipartisan.
The president says they were prosecuted because Henry Cuellar criticized Biden administration immigration policies. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Justice Department announced it has sued 6 more states in its effort to obtain detailed voter data and other election information. The DOJ suing Delaware, Maryland, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington over what it calls their failure to produce statewide voter registration lists. It has portrayed the litigation as part of an effort to ensure the security of elections. Democrat officials in those states raise concerns over how the data will be used and whether the department will follow privacy laws in protecting it. The DOJ now has sued 14 states in total, demanding specific voter information. America in the Morning continues. He saved lives on Omaha Beach during the Allied landing in France on June 6, 1944. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on the death of a D-Day veteran at the age of 101.
Decorated Native American veteran Charles Shea has died at the age of 101 in France. Shea was a 19-year-old Army medic when he landed on Omaha Beach in Normandy on D-Day in 1944.
Well, I guess I was prepared to give my life if I had to. Fortunately, I did not have to.
Shea was from the Penobscot tribe from Indian Island in Maine and was awarded the Silver Star for repeatedly plunging into the sea and carrying critically wounded soldiers to relative safety. Just last year, Shea told the AP he hoped the end of the war would have brought peace.
I would like to see that it has had more effect on the whole world, but it has not. Because you see that we go from one war to the next.
Charles Shea had been living in France since 2018, not far from the shores of Normandy. I'm Ed Donahue.
A new study shows that all the concerns about how power-hungry AI data centers are becoming may be unfounded. Chuck Palm has that in today's Tech Report.
According to the website SciTech Daily, the University of Waterloo and the Georgia Institute of Technology have merged their data on a U.S. economic system that estimates how widely AI is being adopted across different industries. The new study has just confirmed that AI's energy thirst is way less ferocious than all the fearmongers have warned. This deep dive into U.S. data centers trends says that the AI slice of the energy pie is projected to hit about 9% of all the U.S. data power center demands, or about 65 terawatt hours every year. And that's a bump of only about 4%, and less than 1% of the entire nation's electric grid. For comparison, that's about one moderate-sized city, not an entire state. The study concluded that AI data centers rivaling entire country usages were ignoring the efficiency gains and overplayed the worst-case scenario. For more, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman with Thursday Sports.
NBA Wednesday, the Nuggets got 52 points from Jamal Murray as they pummeled the Pacers 135-120. Murray sank 10 of 11 three-point tries. Bucks lost Giannis Antetokounmpo to an early leg injury, but defeated the East-leading Pistons 113-109. Rockets crowned the Kings 121-95. 3 Houston starters scored at least 20 points, including Kevin Durant, who is now just 4 points away from 31,000.
8 players in the history of the game, that's insane. I mean, I'm always grateful for all my coaches, teammates, guys that set screens for me, that give up their shot.
The Spurs kept pace in the Southwest, holding off the Magic 114-112. Luke Cornett blocked Franz Wagner's last-second layup to secure the win. Knicks swatted the Hornets 119-104, 35 points and 18 rebounds for Karl Anthony Towns. Clippers ended a 5-game skid with a 115-92 thrashing of the Hawks in LA's first game after parting ways with Chris Paul. On the ice, the Stars shut out the Devils 3-0. Jake Ottinger made 30 saves. He's now beaten all of the other 31 NHL teams in his 6-year career. Mammoth manhandled the Ducks 7-0. Karol Vermelka stopped 27 shots. J.J. Peterka had 2 goals and 2 assists. 2-2 for rookie Ryan Leonard as the Capitals sailed past the Sharks 7-1. 2 goals for Alex Ovechkin as well. The new record number is 9-11. College hoops, the ACC-SEC Challenge, pretty one-sided again last night, but after the ACC won 7 of 10 on the first night of the challenge, the SEC won 6 out of 7. Number 25 Arkansas took down number 6 Louisville in the big matchup of the night. That's Thursday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, defendant sentenced in the case of actor Matthew Perry. After these messages. The first of 5 defendants has been sentenced in connection to the death of actor Matthew Perry. With details, here's correspondent Kevin Carr.
The first of 5 people charged in the death of Friends star Matthew Perry was sentenced on Wednesday. Salvador Placencia was given 30 months in prison along with 2 years probation and a fine of $5,600. Placentia was charged in the actor's death back in 2024. At the time, U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada described how the defendants operated.
A broad, underground criminal network responsible for distributing large quantities of ketamine.
In July of this year, Placentia pled guilty. Ketamine is an anesthetic, which is also used to treat depression and chronic pain. While undergoing treatment for depression, Perry could not get the drug in the quantities he wanted, so he turned to Placentia and the other defendants. When the charges were filed, Estrada explained the drug was not being used for proper medical treatment.
In this case, we are not talking about legitimate ketamine treatment. We're talking about two doctors who abused the trust they had, abused their licenses. Nothing about what we see today was legitimate.
The 54-year-old actor had been struggling with addiction for years and even wrote in his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, about using ketamine.
Taking K is like being hit in the head with a giant happy shovel. But the hangover was rough and outweighed the shovel. Ketamine was not for me.
Perry's family was present in the courtroom and offered impact statements about his death. Placentia apologized to the family directly, saying he should have protected Perry. I'm Kevin Carr.
This is clearly a new variation of the term drunk as a skunk. Workers discovered their liquor store in Virginia had been broken into and followed the trail of broken bottles down the aisle to the business's bathroom, where they found the culprit passed out on the floor. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports the next problem facing the liquor store workers: what to do with a drunk raccoon.
A reported break-in at an ABC liquor store in Ashland, Virginia led police to a drunk raccoon passed out in the bathroom.
He managed to knock down all the bottles, drink some of the beverages, and then stumbled into the bathroom, where he ultimately locked himself in there and passed out next to the toilet.
Hanover County Animal Protection Officer Samantha Martin spoke with CBS 6 News in Richmond.
He fell through the ceiling tile, so I don't know how he got into the building. That's how he entered the ABC store. So the whole crime scene, if you will, was in the back room with their storage area where they have all the extra alcohol bottles.
A spokesman for the Virginia ABC store said the raccoon damaged 14 bottles of spirits worth about $250 in total. The animal eventually was released back into the wild after authorities say it sobered up. Images of the so-called drunk raccoon now going viral on social media. I'm Clayton Neville.
America in the Morning for Thursday, December 4th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.